In this exercise, we're going to talk about another way of patterning components, or copy a component. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select copy, and I'm going to come in here and select this battery pack. I'm only going to select the top case. We've had some complaints that one model plane, for example, was having some close proximity to something else. It was getting damaged. And maybe this was down in the luggage compartment and it was getting smacked by luggage the way it's set up. But this is only on one component. And we have to save the old for repair parts and things like that because it's only on the new planes going forward or whatever. Maybe it's only on the 727s, not on the 737s. So we're going to save this battery case so that we can go back and modify the new one, but keep the original because we have to keep it for records and things like that. Once we do, we notice we get two different icons. One's to copy and one's to reuse and one's not to do anything. If we had multiple components like bolts and nuts and things like that, we wouldn't want to copy those, but we're only copying one component, so we definitely want to copy it. Say next. Comes up and says, what do you want to call it? It's going to be Rev1. It's going to be a new file. And we're going to insert it into the assembly. And we're going to drop it in over here. The difference in Rev1 and Rev0, we're going to come in here. I'm going to give you a plane already here. If you want to practice creating this on your own instead of turning this on, what you do is you just select plane, select the top edge, and you select the outer edge here. And it gives you this nice work plane. Create a sketch. And it may flip around on you there. Say project geometry. We're going to project those edges I just told you I used. I'm going to draw a line. Come in here and say midpoint of this line, midpoint of that line. I'm going to say finish. It always annoys me that that stays on, so I'm going to turn it off so I can see everything. Then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say rib. It's going to be the kind of rib that's normal to the sketch plane. And I got to flip it around here so it'll create it. And maybe give it a little bit of a draft so it'll pull out of the mold. I can come in here, adjust my thickness or something if I needed to. I don't have any bosses, so I can just say okay. And then I'm going to come in here, I'm going to give it a nice, good, solid fillet here. That helps with the structural integrity, and it just makes it look nicer and have less sharp edges. You know, hey, this is going on an airplane, so we don't want any sharp edges to cut any wires or anything like that. Say okay. So now I have a couple nice fillets on here. I'm going to use the pattern mirror and select the parts I want to mirror. I'm going to come up here and there's a work plane somewhere in the middle here. Can't remember if that's the origin plane or not, but I remember there was a work plane there. So say okay. So now I have that on both sides. Say return. Going to save. Now I could delete this and unconstrain this because I don't need this one anymore. This is going to be a new version. Or what I can do is I can right click on this and say component. I could say replace. And we are in chapter 7 now, battery pack. So we just created that battery case Rev1. So now you can see we replaced it. It keeps all the constraints and everything. And we can even come over here and delete this. So now we have a battery pack that looks something like this. Say save as. We will say this is Rev1. Save. So now we've copied the component and replaced it inside of there. Very simple to do, not a whole lot to it. Now, I did use this copy here on a simple part. If you get into complex assemblies, you can use this copy. I highly suggest you use the vault though. Much better to copy inside the vault. It controls all the links and everything much better. I've actually had components whenever I did a very complex assembly. I've had components change after the link was broken. So if I broke this to the original, because I still need the original without the fin in there for my records, and maybe I have different models that don't need the fin in there for strength. So what happened was I started moving and modifying stuff, and it was changing the originals by accident because somehow it had kept that link. If you copy it inside of the vault using the vault copy for large assemblies or multiple part assemblies, it'll maintain all the links and it'll let you rename things easier. And it'll actually copy things to new folders and things like that. So this is really good for onesie twosie stuff, but anything major, I always want to go to the vault and use the vault to copy. You say, well, wait a minute, I don't work in a multiple user group. There's just me. I have a copy of Local Vault on this machine that I use just for copying. I'll log into the Vault and use it to copy and log back out. Don't even have to really use the Vault. I just use it for that copy command. So I highly suggest you do use the Vault whenever possible. If not, you can use this copy here. See how easy it was. You did notice that whenever I came in here and I select my object, hit OK, give me the rename. I had multiple components in here. I said copy and I selected everything. I could decide what I wanted to copy and what I wanted to reuse and turn on and off subassemblies, and I could have a subassembly of a subassembly of a subassembly. It gives you quite a bit of options in there. It does also, the reuse standard component and factory parts, so any kind of bolts and nuts and things like that you create, it'll understand what those are and reuse them for you. So have fun with this, see what you can do, and I'll see you in the next lesson.